Well, my next guest, Brett Kelly, is the founder and CEO of the ASX-listed Kelly+Partners accounting firm. He's a professional speaker and a best-selling author of 4 books. Here to tell us more about his journey is Brett Kelly. Hello, Brett. Welcome to you. Hello. Now, look, tell us a little bit about your journey, because it's been an interesting one, from being 22 and broke to running an ASX-listed company with over 200 employees. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a short, long story. I left school at 18 and joined Price Waterhouse as an undergraduate. And then I progressed through that firm, left, joined an investment bank, lost my job, didn't know what I wanted to do. My father said, you know, here's 2 books. One talked about meeting people that had been successful and asking them what it was that made them successful. And so I made 80, interviewed 34 prominent Australians, former Prime Ministers, Bob Hawke, and people like Jeff Kennett, Malcolm Turnbull in the political sphere, and then in business, Jerry Harvey, Ron McGeoch, and many others, John Simon from Aussie Home Loans. And basically I self-published the book. It was a #1 bestseller. And then from there I went back into chartered accounting. I worked through a few firms. And then in 2006 with my wife, I decided that I was frustrated at what I saw as a lack of real commitment by these firms to do the best by their clients. And so I thought I couldn't do it worse. So I started Kelly+Partners in North Sydney and the Central Coast in June 2006. And we've now got, 44 partners, 210 team members, and, 15 locations. But what's great about it, we look after over 7,000 private business owning families. And that specialty has allowed us to really be able to do something different for the clients, which is to really understand their situation and help them to work to where they want to get to. So it's a little like personal training for your business and your personal finances.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of people out there at a crossroads right now that have maybe lost their jobs, they're feeling down, stressed, possibly reconsidering their position in life and where they're at. How can you use that as a motivator to achieve more? What's driven you over the years?
Great question. Often you lose your job, you turn around and write a best-selling book. How does that happen? You're a bit disappointed with what you see in chartered accounting, and you start your own firm with a bunch of your mates and grow it. There's that great saying that, life's not what happens to you, it's how you respond and what you do. And so controlling your mind and believing that, if you really apply yourself, get up very early and start very late, that with a coherent plan, you can probably do okay. The core to that is that you don't get into business for yourself, you get into business to solve other people's problems. And if you can see a very clear problem, and we saw that private business owners are often very busy, they're not as organized as they could be, they don't have a genuine person standing at their side who's really got expertise and wants to push and help them to achieve, then you can do something. So I believe it's absolutely fundamental to identify what your unique gifts and talents are and who are those people that could really benefit from you helping them, and then to be very other person, focused in terms of trying to bring a solution to those people. There's that great saying that the harder you work, the luckier you become.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to recognise that sort of within yourself, but to get into keynote speaking and actually writing the books, what made you want to go down that road and sort of share your messages with people?
That's a great question. I needed a reason for a former Prime Minister to meet with me. I was, Brett, no one from nowhere. Why would anyone speak to me? So I had no money, I had no experience, I had never published a book, I had no connections. And so I needed a way to be able to make this book of interest to the people that I wanted to meet. And so I came up with this idea that if I was prepared to understand and hear from these people the lessons that they had for other young people, and then take my time to put it into a book and then get that book out to the market, out to other young people so that they could learn and grow and achieve their goals, then I thought that would be worthwhile to the people that I was seeking to interview. Now, many of these people, they hadn't had a chance to write those stories, to write those lessons. They were very inclined to share their lessons with young people, but they were also extremely busy and hadn't had time to write those down and share them with people. So for instance, when I met John Simon, who at that point was in Parramatta, had founded Aussie Home Loans, and it was going very well, but it wasn't the unbelievable business that it ended up. He was very much of a mindset to want to help other people, but he was too busy on his business. He didn't have a team to do it. And so he was like, sure, Brett, if I can tell you my lessons and that helps you and you'll pass that on to other young people, that would be great. And so I think it's in that. It's, what problem can you solve for other people? And in that case, it was that there were very many wonderful people who had huge experience and insight, and they genuinely wanted to help other people, but they didn't have a vehicle to do that. And I provided that vehicle. And so from there, I started, I met Ray Martin as the last person I interviewed, and I told him the story. And he said, that's amazing, Brett. You got these 34 people in 3 months, 12 weeks. He said, I don't know that I could have got them in that time. That's unbelievable. Can you come and ultimately put me on a current affair? And when he shared that story, then a whole bunch of people asked me, well, would I come and tell them the story? And so it literally, I went to a group of people. I did launch the book at the National Press Club in Canberra with Senator Natasha Stott-Despoja, and that was a 300,000 person television audience. So out of that, people asked, could you come here to speak to us about this? And I was like, sure. Let's face it, I was unemployed. The only thing I was working on was my book. So it's not like I had anything else to do. So I thought, sure, I'll go. And look, through that, I met more and more amazing people. And so, through that journey, I met people that taught me an enormous amount about myself and about how to achieve my goals.
Yeah, it's an amazing lesson in networking. I completely agree. I mean, you've mentioned some pretty big names in there, Ray Martin and John Simon. I mean, you've met other people as well, Bob Hawke, Malcolm Turnbull, the late, great Peter Brock. Are there any others that stand out for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm in my study and I was just thinking, I've got the books here. So there they are. There's like over 1,000 pages of work that I've done in a series of 4 books. And what I was trying to do was this one's called Collective Wisdom, Universal Wisdom, Business Owners Wisdom. And the new one that's coming soon is called Investment Wisdom, 9 of Australia's Best Investors. And so this is just my attempt to learn and grow. So in there's Peter Brock, who's now deceased, amazing. Peter Fitzsimons, Malcolm Fraser, the former Prime Minister, Sir John Gorton, the former Prime Minister. I found Sir John Gorton's contact details in the phone book. I'd heard he lived in Rose Bay, so I looked him up in the old phone book. I met Malcolm Fraser. I just interviewed Jeff Kennett in the Victorian Parliament House, and I was walking down Collins Street in Melbourne, and I saw this Commonwealth car with a guy opening the door, and I looked to my left, and there was Malcolm Fraser. And I said, Mr. Fraser, I've been writing to you for 3 months, and I'm really keen to interview you for my book, but I haven't heard anything. And he looked at me and he said, well, son, if you hang around here tomorrow and come and see me, I'll see you tomorrow. And there was story after story. Mr. Ritchie, who founded McDonald's in Australia, Simon Reynolds, the ad man, Anthony Warlow, the great musical theatre performer, and Imelda Roach, who, I must say was the favourite business person that I met, who had founded this business with her husband, Bill, Nutrimetics, grown it, and was the first Australian business to take over a US parent company, ultimately sold that business to Sara Lee Corp, net worth over $1 billion, self-made. They started selling TV boxes, boxes for antennas for televisions. So, if you're 22, you're a bit down and out, you're wondering, well, what do I do? This advice my dad gave me, he said, read this book. It said, meet people that have been successful. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I'd worked in this job that I thought was this, but turned out to be that. And I said, I never want to do that again. And so every 7 years since then, I've basically written a book about what I've been doing the last 7 years, or I intend to do in the next 7 years. And I've met people like Colette Dinnigan, Nick Chironi, the amazing jeweler, Brett Blundy, Tom Waterhouse, Harry Triguboff, Lorna Jane Clarkson. These are amazing people. And I guess I would say to anyone that you tend to end up the average of the people you spend your time with. And so if you want to improve your health, get around fit people. If you want to improve your wealth, get around wealthy people. If you want to improve your wisdom, get around people that you consider wise. And if you want to be funny, you need to hang around people that are funny. And so you will end up the people you hang around with and spend time with. And so I learned this lesson. And so when I started Kelly Partners, I said, we've got to have people that care about other people. We've got to have people that will do what they say. And we must have people that know that a team can do more than an individual. And if we just got people that thought that way, that would be very different to the self-centered people that I'd worked with, the people that were always about themselves, that didn't do what they say. And as a result, just a small group of 4 of us, we've grown the business by over 35% every year for 14 years straight. We've doubled the business on average every 3 years, 4 times in a row, and ultimately listed that company in 2017 on the ASX. And so what I'm most proud of is that if you get your ideas right, you get the right people around those ideas with a real heart for helping other people, that you can do some fun things. And, that's not my knowledge. I learned that from the people that I went and spent some time with.
Oh, it's fantastic to hear your insight, and a similar journey to what Tika is on here. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. If people want to find out more and get their hands on some of your books potentially, how can they do that?
They can go to brettkellybookshop.com. They're in most bookshops. And if they need a great accountant, look up kellypartners.com.au. That's my primary activity. I do my books for some fun and games. But look, I know that if you get around people that really want to help you and have good ideas and good energy and have proven themselves that they can do things, then they're the people that you want to be in business with, and they're the sorts of people we like to work with.
Oh, here. That's a fantastic note to end the interview on. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon, Brett. Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time so much. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Brett.